and greetings. It's 11 o'clock Eastern Time. My name is Mike Blinder. I am the publisher of Editor and Publisher magazine. And I want to give you a welcome to our case study today, Maximizing Reader Revenue with Audience Data. It's sponsored by a good friend of Editor and Publisher, TownNews. Let me do some quick housekeeping before we bring our panel in with your permission. There's a lot of ways to monitor a webinar on Zoom. We're going to keep our eye on the chat room today. Don't bother raising your hands or go to Q&A. Do me a favor and just use the chat room today. Keep in mind, when you chat on Zoom, you'll be able to direct a question or a comment specifically to one of the panelists if you want to keep it private, or you can just throw it out to the entire group. We had over 250 register for today's workshop, so that's going to be a lot of throwing out if you want to do that. But more importantly, I've instructed our panelists as well to keep an eye on the chat room if they can, between answering questions and their contributions. Thus, you might get a private answer back to your question and one we may not have to address to the entire group. So once again, please stay on the chat as you participate in our webinar today. Now it's my honor and pleasure to bring in our panelists today. May I please have you pull the curtain back and open up your cameras, guys. I'm looking for Matt Connolly. I'm looking, there you are. Welcome, guys, to the our panel. Turn on those microphones and all. Obviously, we have two people from TH Media, Matt Connolly and Cindi Olsen. And then from TownNews, who will be explaining some of the technology behind this case study, we're honored to have Kate Rosenaus and Bridget Bridget, help me, say your last name,
Sibthorp-Moecker.
There you, thank you so much, Bridget, and I appreciate it. So let's get to work, if we may, right now. And first question is going to go out to the, well, I guess to the entire. Let's start with our friends from the TH Media Group, Matt and Cindi. Let's start with Matt. What is TH Media for people who don't understand? What are your holdings? Just give me the quick, like, LinkedIn first paragraph description of the company, if you could, sir.
Sure. So Telegraph Herald is the daily newspaper for Dubuque, Iowa, which is our advertising division. Our overall umbrella for that is TH Media. But we are owned by Woodward Communications. So we have the Telegraph as our daily paper, and then about a dozen weeklies throughout the Wisconsin and Iowa markets. That's kind of at a high level who we are. We have some other properties in the Woodward umbrella, but TH Media is mostly focused on the newspaper.
You're head of digital, correct? You're the digital director.
That's correct, yeah.
Quickly, do you guys have a digital agency of some form? Are you offering the entire suite out of the toolbox to all your advertisers?
We've certainly offered that in the past. We did have a division specifically as a digital agency a few years ago. We've kind of gotten away from that, but we're definitely still offering a lot of digital products to our market. We have the full suite. We have email, we have programmatic. We've done a number of website development for just businesses in the area as well. So while it's not a separate division, those are certainly a list of things that we do.
How large is the editorial team, just ballpark, at the company?
A ballpark, I'd say it's probably around 20 in there, including, the news clerks and everybody.
Circulation of the daily is what?
Cindi, you've got that
Cindi, go ahead, throw that number at us.
I'd be happy to do that. So daily circulation right now, we are about at 17,000 and then closer to 20,000 on Sunday.
And give me a quick idea of the traffic on the website, if you don't mind, page views, unique visitors, Matt?
Sure, yeah. We're at around 3.5 million page views a month on the website, and that's from around 200 to 250,000 unique visitors based on our Google Analytics.
Excellent. All right, and Matt, how long have you been there, if I may ask?
I just had my 15th year with Woodward Communications last year.
Congratulations, Cindi. You've been there for a while as well, if I'm correct.
Yes, it'll be 13 years on St. Patrick's Day.
And you're in charge, Cindi. You're like the sales manager, correct? You're.
I have kind of interesting duties. So I've done a lot of different things at the Telegraph Herald, but currently I'm in charge of our classified department. So automotive, real estate, recruitment, pets for sale, garage sales. I have inbound and outbound sales group. And then I also took over in June. We separated out our circulation department so that we're now called audience development. And I've taken over all of the customer service reps and this customer service supervisor. And so we do both outbound and inbound sales for print and digital.
All right, talk to me about reader revenue. I mean, there's been a big discussion lately. Maybe I'm the culprit. I was the guy consulting newspapers 1999, 2000. My heritage was radio and TV. And in my opinion, you're broadcasting on the internet and we'll monetize it with advertising. I mean, and that's where we all kind of went out there throwing our very few locked down, very few charged for the digital side. Then about 5, 6 years later, everybody starts wondering if that was the right model. Cindi, you told me you look at the numbers each and every day. I mean,
I do. First of all, it's kind of my personality, just saying. But
okay.
with our IQ product that we have, I'm able to automate a report, and Matt showed me how to do that. Thank you, Matt. That I get every single day, and it tells me what my new subscribers are. So we make different offers on our landing page, and every day I get this report, and I'm keeping track of how many new subscribers or members that I'm getting. And then at some point, we'll be able to actually use that data to look back and say, okay, on that particular day, we had 20 people that came on as new subscribers. What were our headlines that day? What did our photos look like that day? So that we could actually match up why people are subscribing to us based upon the information they're seeing on the website.
How important is subscriber revenue, reader revenue, audience revenue to you guys right now? What is the mission?
Well, it's growth. We've seen, we had a 20% growth of digital only subscriber revenue in 2020, and I have 35% growth budgeted for 2021.
All right. So basically you've realized, and if, Matt, you can jump in on this since you're part of this as well, that advertising ain't going to float the boat on the digital sphere. You've got to charge for the content. Correct, Matt? That's the mission.
Oh yeah, and we've been on that bandwagon for quite a while. Our current goal is to try and get our reader revenue to cover the expense of our newsroom in its entirety, like a lot of other newspapers that are trying to go that route. But we've had a paywall in effect for actually the entire time I've been with Telegraph Herald, which is pretty rare. And ours has been a hard paywall where even our obituaries and our other content that a lot of people give out for free have required a subscription, with the only exceptions being, AP wire stories and breaking news, things that are of, public urgent interest. So that's been something we've been really focused on for quite a while. However, while we've been great at selling print subscriptions, we definitely still sell a lot of print subscriptions. We have struggled to grow the digital side. And so that's kind of why we reached out to TownNews and some of the other vendors that we worked with to make this happen, to try and figure out how can we gain some new subscribers. And that's where we had to kind of loosen up the paywall to get some sampling, some free articles in there, get a meter in place that we felt confident in, so we can actually convert some of those casual readers into some new subscribers that we haven't had in the past.
Perfect segue. You said the word TownNews, which brings in Kate and Bridget. I don't know which one of you guys want to field this, but you guys work with how many papers right now? Over 2,000? Is that the number? I mean, is that right, Bridget?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So you're hearing their woes, their needs, their goals. How important, I'll start with you, Bridget, how important is generating reader revenue, would you say now, to the thousands of customers you serve with the TownNews platform?
It's the number one thing that we're talking about with our partners right now is how to grow subscriber reader revenue. And so I think a lot of it comes down to, the digital transformation has really accelerated in the past year with COVID. And so we're seeing this real need to grow subscribers and revenue quickly. This shift has been happening for a long time. As you mentioned, digital advertising revenue is still important, but we're sort of hitting that tipping point between consumer revenue funding more of our businesses.
Kate, what would you add to that?
I wholeheartedly agree with Bridget. I mean, we're hearing the monetization strategies from our customers are no longer what they used to be. So advertising revenue was powerful, but it's slowly declining. And with COVID this year, I think a number of our publishers have seen, drastic changes.
All right. And then you've obviously you got those nerdy people there. They're trying to figure out ways to get in without paying, right? So you got to watch out for that. Those that turn off their ad blockers, correct? How dare turn on their ad blockers, I should say. How dare they do that to us? But have you found a good pricing model? I mean, you're working with papers, advising them, giving them the ways. What is an optimal price offer? Do you have any? I mean, is it all over the place right now, Kate? What would you say?
Yes, it is. It depends on your market. It depends on your circulation, and it depends on your unique visitors to your site.
Okay.
And that is one of the things that I work very closely with our customers on, is that we're their partner and we want to work with them to make sure that this technology works for their situation.
Bridget, what are you seeing as far as best models? Is it hard paywall? Is it metering? Is it half free, half not? I mean, what is it, or is it still kind of all over the place?
There's so many choices, so many people are playing with different things. I think the overarching idea, though, is that for most publishers, to gain subscribers, you're going to have to restrict access in some way. Some people do freemium, some people do hard paywall. It seems like whatever you do, the idea is to get more people seeing the meter being presented with an offer in order to get more people to subscribe. And price is a big thing. Prior to working with TownNews, I worked for one of their partners, Lee Enterprises, on digital subscriptions. And that intro offer is a big piece of it too. People are willing to pay if they have an attractive deal, right?
All right, so let's assume someone decides to finally do it, throw the switch, charge for content. How do you grow that audience? We'll stay with TownNews on this one. What methods of expanding the promotion? What are you seeing? How can they get the word out, or at least get the feature and benefit out, so someone is willing to pay for content, especially those pesky millennials that expect it for free? Kate, what do you think?
So I find that a lot of our partners have benefited from changing up the messaging and making sure that it appears fresh and the call to action is very apparent. We have a number of our partners that are working with Google who recommend certain things on the paywall to present that call to action. I know Bridget worked with that at Lee as well. There's a lot of different things, but the biggest proponent is keeping it fresh, keeping it something different, changing the messaging, doing, Black Friday sales or however you want to do it, but making sure you're keeping that message fresh.
Excellent. I want to make sure that Matt, when you're responding to people in the chat room, respond to all. The panelists really enjoyed that thing you just said, but when Bob Rose asked the question in the chat room, your response was yes. He was asking the question about ad blocker, subscription revenue, and placing the obits. Matt, you said people do pay to place obits, although we do offer a free death notice. Is that true? I mean, you're responding to the question that Bob was there, and now your meter allows most family friends who are non-subscribers to read without subscribing. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, the question was, it said obits are big on conversion, but as I mentioned earlier, our paywall had been very hard. It didn't allow people to read that. So in the past, we had a $1 a day pass, so you could pay $1, just like going to your corner box and buying a newspaper and be able to read those obituaries. But now that we have the meter, it's somewhat defeated the purpose of the day pass, and honestly, we would rather try and convert those people into subscribers whenever possible. Anyway.
All right. So what's the content people crave? I mean, it's got to be local news, right? All across the board. I mean, when I'm hearing, and we've interviewed tons of successful small market, medium market. I'm going to be doing a podcast, launching it next week. I just talked to the Tribune people, in Pittsburgh. I mean, when people are generating the best local news content possible, they are finding those subscribers. Is that pretty much what you're seeing across the board, Bridget and Kate? Is this where, so it's not like just throwing up the paywall. You got to make sure there's something worthy of paying behind it. I see heads nodding.
Yes.
That's pretty much it,
Local
right?
news is a huge driver of conversions. It's premier. I mean, you're the only one generating this level of news, especially in these individual markets. I think local news is the most important driver.
Matt, you were nodding your head on that as well. I mean, as you're looking at the metrics, the better the local news content, the better we're going to get people to pay for the content, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the numbers on how many people are reading each story, breaking news or, the crime and court stuff's obviously number one, but tri-state news is the things that people come for every day for us. Obits are number two right after that for our market, but we do have a slightly older demographic here. So that might be skewing us in that direction a little bit, but absolutely news is first and foremost what they come for.
Hard news versus soft news. I mean, are church suppers still important? Dogs and kids. I mean, is it just all over the place?
I'd say it's all over the place. We had one that was a photo of some cows in a field that had just happened to arrange themselves into like a cross shape around Christmas last year. That one photo gathered, just as many views as some of our breaking news. So it's all about the mood people are in, and content can be quality, whether it's hard or soft. It's just a matter of if it's something people want to see that day.
All right, we're gonna be talking about the data in a moment, but let's talk about leakage. Let's talk about those that try to get around the paywall. Let's go back to Kate on this one. Kate, how prevalent is that, and how important is it for companies like TownNews and other companies to provide the best solutions possible that people can't kind of get around the wall?
So privacy is becoming a more important consumer concern, obviously, with everything that's going on, CCPA, GDPR. Our solution has offered, ad blockers are very easy to detect. We have the ability to display a hard paywall for anyone with an ad blocker, prompting them just turn off your ad blocker. You can continue for your free views. But that's an important piece of revenue for our partners, and we want to make sure that we're having a call to action to make sure that they turn it off. Now, private browsing is a much more tricky business. The browsers are getting better at blocking our detection of it, so it's kind of a constant war, but we are, actively working towards detection. So we do have the ability to detect private browsing for some browsers, some subset of devices, but it's constantly being worked on.
Bridget, anything to add to that?
No, I'll just say that on top of all that, I think look at your social media referrals. I think it was common practice to allow all free views from Facebook and things like that. But what we found is as your subscription organization, as your plan continues to grow and mature, you're going to have to, continue to reduce that access in some way. And part of the way to do that is to step outside of it, step in front of it a little bit, offer email newsletters and things to sort of nurture that customer relationship prior to the meter.
There you go. Cindi, any advice you want to give before we start talking about data and the journey you guys had on what you should be doing in order to take a drive-by visitor and turn them into a loyal visitor? Because you're looking at those numbers each and every morning, right? Like with your cup of coffee.
I am. So our landing page, we have changed up now about 3 times, I think, haven't we, Matt, since September 15th when we went live with this piece. And what this has been able to do is allow me to be very nimble. So I'm going in and I'm testing, I'm doing experiments. I'm looking at how many people are coming in and actually becoming a non-reader to a reader, and then day passes. So how many people were actually purchasing day passes? And we went from 99 cents from a day pass to $2 for a day pass. And now we're doing an experiment. Cross our fingers, Matt. We've taken day pass off completely within the last couple of days.
Really?
This is an experiment that we're doing with the Google News Initiative digital launch. And then we went from $6.95 for 3 months to now then to $8.95 for 3 months with a longer term. We went to an annual prepaid agreement for a year. And now we're doing another experiment through Google News Initiative. So we've been able to really change things up on the fly. And I think look at those people that are coming to our site. And I also want to stress that reader revenue is everybody's responsibility within your organization. Everybody has to understand it. They have to own it. They have to know what their part is and how they can help with reader revenue. Because as we all know, with the unfortunate decline in print subscriptions, we do need to increase and grow our digital reader revenue. And we need to make that gap closer and close it at some point down the road between what a print subscriber would pay and what a digital subscriber would pay.
We're getting some questions about email. How important is an email database? That's where I focused most of my attention the day I took over editor and publisher, because I saw a 17,800 database with 30 to 35% opens. In a year and 4 months, I've built it over 50,000, and I've been able to launch new platforms with that. Very special to me. Bridget, what would you say to someone who says, if I had to put my energy, limited staff into one thing, are you a big proponent for build that email database? Are they most likely to become a subscriber?
Absolutely, absolutely. If you look throughout the industry, an email newsletter subscriber is as much as 10 times more likely to become a paid subscriber. And it goes back to that nurturing, that engagement that we were talking about. And, another piece to that I see as sort of aside that is to getting people to register and log into your site. That's one thing that we really push, again, to that nurturing point. And there's a way to give them an incentive too. It's, get 3 more views if you become a registered user.
Excellent, excellent. All right, now I'm going to go back to Matt if I can. And tell me about the journey, Matt. I mean, you said initially you've gone through every stripe and color of metering process, paywall process. I mean, don't take the next 20 minutes because we're about to talk about why you selected this new solution with the data and the success you've had with it. But what didn't work, if I may be so bold, without trashing any companies out there?
Sure. Honestly, one of the reasons we switched from away from a previous vendor without naming them is that there were too many touches for our readers as they were going through the process. We needed to get it to as simple, streamlined of a process to sign up as possible. Because we were finding, the more clicks that are in that process, the more people we lost along each step of that way. And then also we realized, that hard paywall we were using works to regain, if you want to regain former subscribers, but it does not work at all if you want to gain new subscribers. People need to sample your content. They need to feel it. They need to understand that there's value in it before they pull out that checkbook and start giving you monthly revenue every year or every month. So that's something that we've definitely learned a lesson on. And we were talking about the leaks in that meter system a little bit ago. It's just something that, you almost have to accept to a certain extent that some people are going to get through, but to be able to identify and target offers to them later once we know who they are. We have really tried hard to implement a paywall funnel, which is something we've been hearing a lot about at the different conferences and things we've gone with, and especially working with Google more lately. That is something that we've definitely been working hard on, just to even identify Google Analytics, connecting that to who in our subscriber list, who in our user list is fitting into each part of that funnel. And so we're just really now getting to a point where we can target conversions by group. Our email subscribers, how many of those are we converting into subscribers? How many people that are just visiting one time to read an obituary, something like that, are becoming a subscriber? That data on where you're losing people on that journey to pay you is key. That's what lets us know where we lose them.
All right, well, we're nearing the halfway mark. I'm going to stay with you then on this, Matt, and then we're going to bring in the friends from TownNews. So what was the main challenge you were looking at? Was it all of the above when you said, okay, we're trying a brand new solution. We're going to flip a switch. Cindi, that must have scared the living heck out of you, right? Because you're the one that's held on the carpet, right? What are the numbers? Are we growing? Matt's the geek. You're the one that's got to, yeah, I get it. But you guys decided to flip the switch, and you did it because the leakage, because of the people, getting around the paywall, or it just wasn't, what was it, Matt?
I mean, really, at the end of the day, we knew we needed to gain more digital subscribers, and we needed to do it in a way that we knew that any investment we made in technology was going to be profitable. So we have a number of data sources we use, and one of them has all the households in our market, whether they're subscriber or not. And after getting a bunch of quotes from all these different vendors, we realized we only really needed to convert about 2% of the non-subscriber households in our market to get a nice profit margin we were happy with. Now that is new digital subscribers separate from what we do, on the print side. We're still out there selling print subscriptions and selling through our normal channels, but specifically through this paywall, our goal was to acquire 2% of the non-subscribing households in our market within a 2-year period. And so, when we talk about the 500% goal that we've exceeded, in the subject line of for this webinar, that's the number that came from. We kind of paced it out. We needed to gain 20 to 40 subscribers per month in order to hit this goal. And
you're on your way now. It's working, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. We are months ahead of our normal schedule right now, just because we've had such a great amount of activity on that just in the first couple months. But as Cindi can verify, the rate of new subscribers has not slowed down. It's been consistent. We've been live on the new paywall for a couple months now, and I did kind of expect a big jump at the beginning as people were taking advantage of our new offers and stuff like that, but it has not slowed at all. It's been fairly linear growth.
Cindi, you're a hero now, right? It worked.
I am. Isn't it great?
Well, but it's also nice to have a goal, isn't it? I mean, start with the goal. I like that 2%, and then you start with the number and then break it down. So isn't that, and your guys are now tracking your goal, right, Cindi?
Oh yeah, we keep track of it every which way. So by number of new subscribers, number of total subscribers, by revenue. In the month of, I think there were 3 months I guess it would have been October, November, December. We really blew out our expectations for revenue, and we have hit all-time highs for revenue for digital only memberships or subscribers. And that's a truly great place to be. And
this funnel that you guys are talking about now, you're tracking everybody where they are, and describe the levels real quick, Matt, of the funnel. How where are they as they come down to the bottom? Give us quickly.
Yeah, I don't know the exact numbers we have it set at, but it's based on how many visits per month each user comes. And Google Analytics has some actual segmentations that are almost already set up for you. You can copy those into your Google Analytics from a page they have. But essentially, our top level is, I believe, 1 to 5 visits per month. And then after that next level of the funnel, they're 5 to 15 visits per month. And then at that bottom of the funnel is that daily practically user that's coming back very frequently. Once you get to that point, you're almost guaranteed to be a paid subscriber. So we're actually offering different deals to you as you move your way down. So when you're just that first couple visit, you get a fairly vague offer that's not as lucrative, but then once you hit that second level, all of a sudden you're getting a much more attractive offer. And so we're really trying to figure out where those numbers need to be. Cindi mentioned we're experimenting like crazy with those numbers. Right now we're doing a 4 months for $4 versus $8.95 a month just before. So it'll be interesting to see, how those price points affect the conversion rate. If a $4 deal gets the same conversion as an $8.95 deal, we probably won't go that low for price again. So that data definitely is informing our decisions.
Kate, you're on the spot now. You're the secret sauce that gave him the tools to do all this. That's why we built this webinar, because now we're turning the corner. You guys built IQ Audience Plus. What is it? How long has it been around? And where are you at? And how does that solution help Matt have all these metrics and all these special ways where he can market a certain way to this person, a certain way to this person? Isn't that the secret sauce that we're discussing here?
It is, yeah. So IQ Audience Plus has been around since, I want to say, March last year. We launched it right around the time of the pandemic start.
I remember you guys were teasing it at the mega conference.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
and then pandemic hit, yes.
So we started in March, and really IQ Audience Plus isn't just a software, it's a program that I run and oversee. The program is, it's a process of getting the new paywall technology up and running on your site, but also, consulting, making sure we're working with you to set goals and using the knowledge across our base to be able to help you guys develop these tools and these processes and these data reviews and all the different pieces that fit in. But Audience Plus includes the use of access control, which is the software that powers this new smart metering technology. So we start by, making sure we review goal setting, and every publisher has a different goal. Some are measuring based on, meter stop rate. Some are measuring based on growing digital subscribers. Like they don't care what the other metrics are as long as their numbers are going up. It really is dependent, and we can help by meeting with you. Then we set up the software. We have a recommended setting. So we'll go ahead and configure that and then work with you to customize it based on what goals you have, how you want to target your individual audiences. And then we basically will launch and then do post-launch adjustments and meet afterwards to review the data. We review the entire site. We'll help you with, managing your purchase workflow, as well as, where your content even appears on the first homepage. As well as adjusting those audiences and your targeting of your paywall technology itself. So it's really a holistic view into how you're targeting your audience to convert to digital.
But you have the advantage of thousands of platforms, correct? That you're now it's not just working with one guy, you're taking the entire holistic sphere you're hosting and all that data and crunching it. So you can say to Matt, this is what's not just working for you, but this is how it across the entire spectrum, right? And
yeah.
And that's amazing, because to me, yeah, go ahead.
We make a lot of adjustments and recommendations based on what we're seeing in successful markets across the whole, every customer we've launched with. So we come back and, we meet, and we're available for consultative services, throughout the program. So as long as you're still in the Audience Plus program, you can meet with me. We can set up a data review. I have a data analyst that pulls your data and make sure we review the entire site and see what's working for other customers and how we can apply that to your site.
Bridget, you're not just a certain type of market size, right? I mean, you're now pulling data from major markets and really tiny markets, correct? So can you slice and dice that? If someone says, well, for market size or competitiveness of the market, I mean, how much of a snapshot can I see as I plan my strategy to build my reader revenue?
Well, that's absolutely something we're looking at and something that we share with our partners, because no matter where you're at in your journey of growing reader revenue, no matter what size your organization is, this very powerful software can be scaled to your organization. And let's be honest about it. A lot of the other paywall vendors out there are very expensive. And so it was really important to us at TownNews to be able to provide a solution that's scalable, that anyone can use to grow.
Well, Matt, you have what, a staff of 50, 100 working for you? So they're doing, I mean, I'm kidding, I'm being sarcastic. What I hear from most publishers now is I'm lean and mean. I don't got a lot of resources right now. And the word outsource, correct me if I'm wrong, is in. Everybody's looking ways to outsource certain functions so they can focus. Well, you said it yourself, Matt, the goal is to support the newsroom, right? I mean, Cindi, it all boils, without the news content, we ain't anything, right? I mean, I got to say that again. I'm saying this now. I'm pontificating. Without content, this doesn't work. So you got to support the newsroom. So you're outsourcing different functions. How turnkey is this, Matt? We got a lot of small publishers right now watching, a lot of guys, that are very lean and mean. Is this easy to implement, or do you have to have like some kind of a geeky Harvard degree to work with this stuff?
So my electronic media department is a total of 3 people. It's
Seriously?
yes.
Wow. Okay.
It's myself, and I do have a developer background, so I definitely get my hands dirty in that stuff. But then I have a designer and a web programmer. And I would say we spend the majority of our time as like the glue between different vendors. We're making our DTI subscription database talk to our sending files to TownNews so that they know who our print subscribers are and that they get access. We're connecting to a different vendor for our email. We're connecting to a different vendor for advertising as well. Actually, that's a TownNews service as well, but through our Google DFP account. And just getting like our Second Street emails and all that stuff tied together is kind of what we focus on. So we do a little bit of, development for our own websites as well, obviously, but I guess to get back to what you're asking, yeah, we don't have a ton of time. We don't have a ton of staff. So it's important to have vendors who have experience working with each other, especially if you can't buy that Cadillac approach, that one solution for all your needs type system.
All right. So Bridget, doesn't matter what the market size is, right? I'm running a very lean operation. There's only 3 of us here. But I want to have a good system. I got to start charging for my content, but I want to do it gradually. I don't want to piss off my audience, and I want to figure out how. Well, am I right, Cindi? You're the one that. I mean, so Bridget, do you have some small markets using this now? Some really lean operations?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I think the important thing to think about here is that this particular piece of software is tied in with our CMS, with Block CMS. So there isn't some big integration with a long timeline like you would have with other vendors. I mean, obviously most of our papers, most of our organizations don't have a ton of people. And frankly, you don't have a ton of time. If you have an integration that takes 3 months, that just eats into your profits and your growth. So it's a seamless thing. And, to your point, it can really work for very small organizations as well.
All right. So Kate, someone is a Blocks customer, they can automatically then apply this to their reader revenue strategy. If they're not a Blocks customer, they have to become one. That's just they got to have to start using your CMS system. How hard is it to do that? Hey man, we're building it on WordPress. I've taken 1 million different, apps and downloaded them down here, and I'm making a hammer, a saw, and I'm doing this, and I'm kludging that. And there's a geek in the high school that built this for me. That's a little scary, right? It's like it's like changing your bank account, right? I mean, how can this be a seamless transition and easy for a publisher to move into the world of truly knowing their audience, so they can truly monetize it the right way? I mean,
the process of switching CMSs is sometimes complicated. I don't want to understate that, but as Matt mentioned, having one solution that talks with all these different vendors that you're integrated with, it's almost priceless. It's a very big piece because it eases the burden on your digital staff. It eases the burden to manage these different connections. We have a very good relationship with circulation systems. We've worked with email providers. We, as TownNews as a whole, is here to support these partners. We are your partner. We grow from you and we learn from you. And, this is the one piece that is truly important if you want to be lean and mean, as you said.
Well, Matt just mentioned, you mentioned Matt Cohen's company, correct? Are you doing things with other vendors as well, Matt? And is it okay that they just seamlessly work with your Block system, or are you doing everything through Blocks right now? Are you? Are you there, Matt? Hello.
I'm here. Yep, I just had muted for a sec, so you couldn't hear my
Okay.
typing.
Second Street. Did I hear you mention Second Street? That's what I was saying. You said your Second Street emails.
Yeah, we do use Second Street for our emails, mostly because we were doing a lot with contesting and things like that, that we wanted to be able to tie into there. We also have a number of websites that are not with TownNews at the moment, but may be in the future. For example, we have a website dedicated to jobs in our area and homes and cars for sale. So we wanted all of our email in one house. And that's why we went with Second Street. But that's certainly always on the table. We're all, every vendor gets evaluated every year, just like with any other business. So, we're definitely keeping track with what new features TownNews is offering. And, if we ever see the opportunity to unify, I would definitely agree that things work better when everything's with one vendor, if you can. That anytime you have joining things from multiple vendors, that's just another point of failure that can go wrong. But not saying it does go wrong, but if something does, that's usually where it happens.
But I also want to invite our audience. We have hundreds of you right now online. Please feel free to chat. I see our panelists, when they're not answering questions, are typing some responses, but head to that chat room if we're not covering the information you need, because we only have about 18 minutes to go in this webinar. Cindi, now, next steps. What are you doing? I mean, I know you're now playing with pricing models and that. Are you going to tell Matt you want to get everybody in on this quick, even the weeklies? Where are you heading?
Yeah, we do. We are experimenting with pricing models. And again, the IQ piece allows me to be nimble. So if I'm going to be 30 days in and I'm noticing that the new pricing model that I've put out there is not working based upon the numbers that I've been signing up, then I'm going to assume that my market cannot bear that price. I'm going to take the price back down. We have also already gone into, when we did have the day pass up and running, this is kind of a fun little experiment we did. I went and I downloaded the emails from the people that have purchased day passes for September, October, November. And it was interesting because, first of all, there were several people in that list that had purchased multiple day passes every month instead of just signing up for a subscription. So what I did was kind of take all of those multiples out, got an email list together, and we went ahead and did a push email for them to come on board as a true digital subscriber. And again, who were these people before we had this? I mean, we weren't grabbing them when they came to our website. They were leaving, or they were having to call into my customer service center to start a digital subscription, which is just kind of awkward, let's face it. I mean, if you're online, you want to be able to make your purchase online instead of calling in. So the fact that we're able to get to these people and get to them in a timely manner and offer them things is just fabulous.
This is it. I mean, I can't believe you're doing that. To me, that's what we should be doing rather than just dialing for dollars, trying to get people to subscribe to our newspaper. You got a fly-by guy who stopped 3 or 4 times and spent money with you, and you're make love to him, right? He's in the funnel, as I would say. And that's the trick, right? Now, how are you going to get more of those? Are you guys going to be doing some other marketing? Are you Matt, are you buying anything out there like billboards or digital? Are you running some campaigns? Are you going to try to get more people to come to the site?
Yeah, nothing's off the table at this point, we're going to try everything. We're right now working with Google News Consumer Initiative. We're trying to focus on 1 or 2 things at a time so that we know which one of our experiments are driving results. If we're running, 10 experiments at a time, it's hard to know which one's getting the work done for us. But we've recently figured out a way to separate. For example, we have a number of emails that go to subscribers and non-subscribers. And we figured out a way to split those mailing lists. So subscribers get one version, non-subscribers will get another version with a special offer in them. We have run billboards in the past. We'll definitely do a lot of social media marketing, especially to try and get, you mentioned, I believe Bridget mentioned that people from Facebook a lot of times get a free pass through the paywall to read those links. That's not something we have set up now, but we know that our Facebook audience, especially when we first added the paywall, was very negative towards that. So
Really?
now that we're offering the metering, we haven't really publicized that to them. That's an audience that I believe will start visiting again in a hurry, and I think we can convert them with a good offer if they're finding the content they like. So if we can get the right content out to our Facebook audience, in addition to our daily stuff, I'm very confident that we're going to get a lot of conversions out of them.
All right, let me go back to Bridget then. Any organization, I mean, what is the right fit for this now? I mean, do you have because Bridget, that's your job, right? You're the one that helps the customers come on board and discuss. What is the perfect fit for this kind of technology for people to start mimicking the success that they're having at TH Media?
Well, I think it's really important that you figure out what your model is going to be first. If you haven't had a paywall, if you're working on a membership model, I think, and you have to, this is established on kind of a metered strategy. It's just way more involved than that. So you have to have, be willing to reduce the views. You don't have to do a hard paywall, but we have like a journey that's specific to different people. It's not linear like your normal paywall. Mm-hmm. Everybody gets the same exact experience. What we've built here is really, really exciting because there's different journeys and it can be customized to your needs. So again, I really think it is, I've worked with a lot of small publishers, I've worked with larger ones, and this is something that's really flexible that can work for everybody.
I want to make a note on that too. So those different groups that we keep talking about and referencing, I saw some questions about it. The options for control are just way more advanced than a hard paywall. It's not based on sections anymore. We can really take it to refers based on published date. And then on top of that, we actually have it connected to our DMP, our data management platform. So all of that data that's being collected across the user's journey on your site, we can capitalize on that now and actually target those audiences based on, they're coming to the sports section 16 times a month. We can tell that now and be able to target them with specific messaging as well as specific offers.
I'm an ad guy, and I would be the guy in the advertising department saying, how can I use this to please an advertiser? I mean, God forbid, there's still that dark side, right? I gotta sell that ad. And I'm assuming, is there a model? I should ask this. Someone asked this earlier and I wanted to save that question. Bridget or Kate, if you reduce the ads on a metered site, are people happier, or can you just run the same amount of ad inventory, 300 by 250s, 728 by 90s? I mean, is there any, or do you suggest people reduce ad count when you're charging for access? Kate. No, Bridget, go ahead.
I was just going to say that, this has been a big question that people have had. Can we serve more ads to our flybys? Absolutely. Can we reduce ads for our subscribers? Absolutely. That's what
can do that for. Mm-hmm. So you can give the subscriber, the hard-nosed news junkie, you can give them a less advertising laden journey, and the flybys that just come and go, you can hit them with more ads, and that's your model. And that's easy to do. It's simple. I mean, it's not hard to implement that.
It is not hard to implement that with our data management platform behind us. We are able to target, we have customers out there who are doing the ad light experience for their subscribers and seeing success. Basically, it's as simple as configuring a block to target that audience. So it's
Matt,
pretty straightforward.
Is this what you guys are doing? Are you limiting ads to the deep news junkies now, or are you serving the same inventory to everyone who's on each page?
For the most part, we're trying to sell as many local ads as possible, and they want to hit our subscriber audience. They're not really worried about targeting too much, but we have definitely the DMP provider that is paired with Audience Plus. We've definitely used that to target ads to specific audiences, especially the political side there, mm-hmm. and the public Department of Health. They have a lot of ads that target very narrow age groups and genders and things like that. And we've been able to use that same DMP provider that drives our audience funnel to create additional groups to target ads to. And I believe we can also target content blocks for editorial to certain groups as well. So that's another way that we're definitely looking to take advantage of this system.
Wow. Now that's amazing. So now you can, not just the advertising impressions can be targeted, but you're actually targeting the content based on the data that you're accumulating. That's, so they have a much more robust journey and they get the content that they crave. What are your, go ahead, Kate. I was going to say, and while you augment that, Kate, I know you're dying to just get in there. Tell me what the customers are saying about that now. What are you hearing? What's the feedback?
We're hearing really good feedback from our customers on our IQ program as a whole. You know, the smaller publishers out there are very happy that we're offering this as a service. It's consultative. They have a team of experts to ask their questions to, and have a wealth of knowledge that they now have access to. Our larger publishers are happy with the speed to market. You know, like we said before, it doesn't take very long to get this set up on a blog site. It, you know, you could be up and running in 2 weeks if you really wanted to be.
Wow. All right. So next steps, what's happening? I mean, this is just the beginning, right? When you guys are all meeting, I mean, let's stay with the Town News guys on this, then I'm going to hit Cindi and Matt, give us your final thoughts. When you guys are meeting on this now, you're building this, it's all brand new. I mean, you're kind of setting the standards now for where, in your opinion, the industry should be moving towards making the reader revenue journey actually better, if I may be so bold, and more profitable for the media company. So can you just let us in on what 3.0 or 4.0 may look like, Kate? I mean, where are you heading with this thing?
So there's a lot of different pieces to this. We are looking at our payment process, as well as the end user experience, the visualizations that are provided to our end users on the site. I would let Bridget actually address this question.
Okay, Bridget, you're on the spot.
I'm so excited to answer this question because I couldn't have joined TownNews at a better time. I mean, we've built this really powerful engine that, you know, there's a baseline, there's a recommendation, but it can really be customized to anybody. But the next step, I think, is really user experience. And that's our big focus this year on faster workflows with less friction, on look, feel, and really digging into things that can increase the conversion rate for our partners.
Excellent. Cindi, you're nodding your head big time. So you're looking to the next steps too, right?
Yeah, we've been talking a lot with our Google News Initiative folks about conversion rates, and we want to improve ours. And we want people to be able to get to our site faster, less friction. Once they get on there, they can log in or they can sign up, and it's relatively easy thing for them to do. So so we're working on some things. Matt's actually working on some things to enable that and to make it aesthetically very pleasing. And then we're also going to include some call to actions in our newsletters. So we have a morning and we have an afternoon newsletter, and then we have like our biztimes.biz. And our newsletters get very, very, very good open rates, click-through rates, everything. So we're going to put more calls to action in some of those things so that hopefully we're reaching another user demographic.
I got to say this, Matt, you and Cindi complement each other exceptionally well. Cindi, is your background circulation, advertising, a little bit of both?
You know what, really, I have been either an advertising manager or an advertising director. I mean, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but probably for 40 years at various newspapers. I was with Lee, I was with Gannett, I've been at various other newspapers, and I absolutely love being at the Telegraph Herald. We're an employee-owned newspaper company and love it.
40 years. You started when you were like 9 then, maybe 7.
I love you.
Oh,
yes.
Well, I told you I have a sales background. Let me ask, this is what I want to bring up is back to our Town News people. Bridget, who's doing the training there? Is it you? You have the training team? I mean, can a circ manager, and you remember, because I don't even want to say the word circulation anymore. I want to say audience, right? That's because if someone's, you know, is so embedded on getting the print issue in more hands, they should be looking at both holistically. Can you train someone to really embrace this that may not be as geeky or nerdy? Or, I mean, how easy it is to embrace these concepts? You're really just looking at numbers, right? You're just looking at results in a funnel, correct, Bridget?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'll pitch this to Kate in a second, but I want to speak for a second as a former TownNews customer, as I was up until 6 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know the block system, if you have that CMS, it just makes sense. You know, as we were talking about it being seamless and part of the program. But, you know, Kate's really the implementation person. I have the pleasure of, you know, kind of looking ahead and seeing how can we improve the entire ecosystem.
Kate, you're on.
So, yes, this can easily be trained. You know, we do provide training as needed, as requested, for whichever groups you want. We work with, you know, I have calls with circulation directors. I have calls with publishers. It really depends on our partner and how they want to address this. But I mean, I've seen both of those groups particularly really take to this system and be able to use the data to make data-driven decisions for their markets.
This is excellent. All right, so to our audience, you have about 4 minutes left. If you have any final questions you want to pose to the panel, I see you guys are doing a wonderful job responding, and thank you so much. You guys can walk and chew gum at the same time, obviously. Be part of a webinar and then respond. Matt, final thoughts. To the struggling, let's just say the struggling publisher or digital director or audience director out there who really needs to start driving more reader revenue. Give them some final thoughts and some energy. What would you say?
You know, I would respond to them by telling them about a project we did for our 3 weeklies in the Madison area with Unified News Group earlier this year. They were a publication with no paywall whatsoever, and there was a ton of skepticism if people would pay for it at all, or much less pay more than Wisconsin State Journal is paying right across the road from them, pretty much. We implemented this system, and just like we found at TownNews or with our Telegraph Herald site, we far exceeded our expectations on how many people were willing to sign up and pay for that digital content, and the reach of where they would come from. I guess I would say, don't let any preconceived notions about what people will pay for stop you from trying something like this, because people will pay for it. I think, you know, we were finding our older market is not going to move to digital very well, but when we look at those non-subscribers, that is the people who love to get into this digital product. They're very willing to pay for a digital subscription, and just make it so that you're showing value that's compared to what they're paying the same amount for with, you know, their Hulu or their Netflix or, you know, other digital services that people pay for without a second thought.
Well, that makes total sense. But Cindi, what would you add to that? To someone who says, can I do this on my own? Is this possible? What is your thoughts on that?
Yep, absolutely. Like I said, I just came over into the audience development world in June. Yeah, old ad gal, love data. But Kate's laughing at me, but I've really grasped this. I'm enjoying it. It's a fun adventure. And I will tell you that I think one of the most important things you can take away is talk about digital every single day. You know, the days when it used to be part of that secondary conversation that we all had, being, you know, growing up in the print world, talk about it every single day. Figure out who your readers are, what they want, what you can give them in the future, and how to do that. Again, circling back to that whole reader revenue journey.
Kate, Bridget, if someone wants more information on learning how they might be able to use IQ Audience Plus, I know that's a moving target now. I'm sure version 9.0 will be out in a month or two, but as you're building it, who do they contact and how do they get a hold of you?
I would recommend reaching out to your sales representative and making sure that, you know, they can work with you to determine the good path for you, and then you know, what programs you'll need to join to be able to partake in this one.
And what about it, Bridget? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think we really like to have a hands-on approach, and this is just one of many pieces to customize in your overall strategy. I mean, although Audience Plus is new, we've really been in this business a long time with subscription. This is just sort of an evolution of that stack, and we're here to help and work with you.
We promised those that attended this workshop, and obviously those that are going to see the recording, that they can get a copy of the actual case study. I have programmed Zoom to somehow, in some way, shape, form, or size, allow it to happen once we shut down, but I didn't know if I could trust it. So townnews.com/r/EP. I assume that's for editor and publisher, the magazine I manage. So thank you very much for that. But once again, townnews.com/r, you see it on the darn screen, /r, then capital EP, and you will find access to the case study. All of you, thank you so much for your valuable time. This was exciting. I'm feeling good about the future of reader revenue now, because I've been watching it just be hard paywall, meter, this versus that. It seems to me knowing the audience is everything. And you guys have just gave us a lot to think about. So I wish you well. Everyone take care. Thank you for attending. And more importantly, we'll be sending a link to all of you for the recording if you'd like to share it. Everyone stay healthy, please. And take care. Bye-bye.